Hey folks, thanks for stopping in to see us today. Beautiful October day, partly sunny, a little bit of a cool breeze, great day to be outside and working. So here's what we've decided to do. We've had this 12 by 24 shed here since we first built the house. We used it for storage for tools and everything that we needed to while we were building the house. And then once we finished that up, we did come in and finish part of it. We've got our bunny in here. She's got her little world. We can kind of show you that on the video. But basically what we want to do in this corner, which was unfinished, is we want to turn this into our tack room. This shed is right next to our 2 donkey stables and next to the paddock. So it would be very convenient for us to be able to put a little deck here, cut in a door, step up and go in and have a sink and a kitchenette in here that we can use as the tack room. We can store some of their feed and be able to have a place to wash their buckets and their food bowls when it's really cold. We're doing it outside right now. We're finding it very cold in the early mornings at 30 degrees, washing out their buckets and getting their water ready for the day. So this will work out real well. What we're going to do is cut out the doorway. We already started yesterday working on the framing in there. We took off some of the drywall. I took out some of the studs and started to reframe the opening so that we can just cut out the siding here at this point in the game. So come on along today and watch the fun while we cut in the door. We'll show you over the next few weeks a series of videos when we put the deck up and we get this tack room ready for the winter months. So while you're here, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the notifications bell so that you'll know when we upload our videos. And give our videos a thumbs up if you like them. We appreciate your support. Thanks for looking in on us. And come on along and enjoy the day. It's gorgeous here today. Okay folks, so here's what we're going to do next. As we said, this is where the door is going to go. So we've peeled off the drywall, we've taken off the insulation. What we're going to have to do is cut out 2 studs here and bring up the bottom plate and then create a whole new rough opening for the door. We've calculated that off the wall to be about 25, 26 inches. What we're planning on at this point, we don't know if that's exactly what we're going to do, but our plan at this point is to put a countertop and a sink right here. The idea, of course, as we said, that this will end up being our tack room, and we'll be able to come from the donkey stables up the steps onto the little porch and come into the little kitchenette here and be able to get water, and we'll create storage for their food. So that's kind of the plan. So now we'll cut these studs out and keep going. I'll be able to reuse these studs. I've cut these off here within the 3.5 header size that we're going to have. That easy. Okay, now we're going to make the header for the door. There's only room enough up there to make a 3.5 inch header. The walls on that shed are only 7 foot something. So we need an 82 inch rough opening for the top of the door. So what we need to do is the rough opening on the door is 38 1/4. We're going to put a jack stud on each side. That adds 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. That comes to 41 1/4 as the rough opening would be where the jack studs actually go in. So now we're going to cut two pieces, 41 1/4. That'll give us 3 inches. I need to put a 1/2 inch piece of plywood in between, so that'll make up the 3.5 inches of the stud wall, and put the header in place. Okay, the door's all in. We put the trim all around it. The trim on the very top of the brick mold up there is going to come off because there'll be a 2x4 header up there that will support the roof overhang. As we said, we're going to end up building a little deck here, probably 6-7 foot wide, with an overhang from the upper roof, like we did on the other side of the shed. So that top piece of molding will come off. I just temporarily tacked that up there with just caulk. So basically we're all set in. It's all plumbed up, ready to go. Tomorrow we'll put the doorknob and the lock set on. So we're all set. Okay, we're getting ready to add the key and knob and the deadbolt lock onto the door for our donkey tack room. What I'm going to do today is rekey the lock so that it matches all the rest of the locks on the rest of our house. This is something that I learned how to do when we owned our True Value hardware store back quite a few years ago. A lot of you guys may not know, but we had a hardware store for about 10 years. Very successful, loved it, sold it, and went on to some other things in life. But basically what we're going to do is I'm going to rekey this. This is something that the local hardware stores can do for you. If you buy the lock set from them, many times they'll do it for you for free, or if you bring them a lock, they can do it for you. They have the kits that are available to do this. This is a Schlage kit that, again, I kept from the hardware store when we sold it, because I knew that I'd be changing locks over time and over the years. So basically what we're going to do is rekey it today so it matches the rest of our locks, and I'll show you how that's done. It's really a very interesting process. One of the things a lot of people may or may not know is there's a series of numbers on the actual key. In this particular case, it's 74588. What that represents is the height of the individual little pins that are on the key. And that's how a locksmith rekeys, by changing those pin heights so that they would match another key that you would have. One good thing to do if you ever buy a new lock set and you use those individual keys is go get some keys cut for yourself and keep the original key someplace, or log that number down somewhere. If you ever get locked out of your home because you've lost your keys, if you have that number, you can call a locksmith. The locksmith can cut a key based upon the number that you give him, as long as he knows it's a Schlage C blank and the 5 digits that are there, he'll be able to cut the key to match that. We did the same thing here with us one time when we lived in Florida and we came north. We forgot our keys to the cabin. Called the locksmith, he cut a key for us. We went over, picked it up, got into the house. So basically, it's just something as a good information a lot of people don't know. So we'll do the deadbolt first. Basically, the deadbolt comes as all one piece. There's several screws in here that we can take out. That will get us access to the cylinder. Okay, now the actual cylinder comes out in your hands. And we'll show you how to take that apart and how to rekey it. So, if you understand how a lock actually works, what happens is that there's 2 sets of pins in here. The pins on the top part of the lock are all the same length. And then the pins that are down inside the core, just below that, are different lengths based upon how it's coincided with the individual pins on the lock, on the key, I should say. So what happens is when you push in all the way, what happens, the individual 5 pins that are of a different height all level out at the top of the cylinder with these 5 pins that are all the same length. And what that allows you to do is then to spin the cylinder. Okay? So as you pull the key back out, one by one, what happens is that the level pins drop down into the core at different levels, and the actual lock occurs right at this line at the top of the cylinder. So again, when you push this in, what happens is the little individual pins all get pushed up so that the cylinder is now level with the top. The 5 even pins that are all the same length on the top are now clear of the holes, and you're allowed to turn the cylinder. Very interesting lock. I'd like to have been the guy who invented it. He was a genius. Okay, so what we're going to do at this point in the game is we're going to take the lock apart. There's a little teeny pin that allows you to spin off the back portion of the cylinder. Been a while since I've done this, so bear with me if I'm a little clumsy. There we go. And you can see here's the little pin, and there's a little spring in there as well, and we'll leave it in there. Okay, so now when you put this in and go back and forth, if I actually pulled that cylinder out, now that it's all leavened, that whole cylinder will come out of the individual lock. All these pins would come flying out, so you've got to be very careful with what you're doing at this point. They have a special tool that you used in order to do that, so that you can pull this out. Just like that. And now what this cylinder does, it acts the same way as these pins do. I can rotate this easily all the way around, and it's holding the 5 pins in place up there. And now in here, as you can see, here's what the pins look like when there's no key in there. You can see that they're indented, and that has the 5 pins on top go into those holes so you can't turn it. Once you put the key into the cylinder, you can see that it levels out all of those pins, and that allows you to turn it the same way as this little core. Very interesting concept. So in this particular case, this key number that we're taking out is 74588. So that means the first pin here is a 74588. So that's pretty much how it all works. So we're going to change those pins all out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll put those aside so we don't get them confused with anything that we're doing. And then we're going to key that to my lock, which I'm not going to tell you what the numbers are, obviously, because that's a security issue. Okay, so now I've got our key all set up in here, and as you can see, all the individual pins are all level with the top now. So now what I'm able to do is push this core right back in here, very cautiously and very carefully with a little bit of back pressure to make sure we don't lose any of the pins. And basically, we're worked and we're keyed now to my key. So you have to very carefully center it, and pull the key out. Okay, so that holds it all in place. Put our little push pin back in here again. That does the actual locking. And thread the nut back on the outside. Okay, and what that basically does is this little lock pin and cap keeps it so that when you do put your key in and you go to pull it out, you don't pull the whole cylinder out, obviously. So that's just a locking mechanism that does that. So that's pretty much how it's done. It's all set. Rekeyed to our house key. All set, ready to go. And we install it back over here. Get my fingers to work this morning. And that's how simple it was. All set, ready to go. Now it works with our key. That's it. So endeth the lesson on locksmithing.